Hi everyone, this is Bloody Biscuits, and this is my speedrun of the Cavern of Remembrance on level 1 in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. Now, to briefly describe this run, basically it starts when you load the Cavern of Remembrance right here, and then it ends when you activate the datas in the Garden of Assemblage using the monitor. So, yeah. This run consists basically of platforming through the cavern and doing the 5 forced fights. You can go through that first cutscene that's right there to farm for material to get Shock Charm pluses. Otherwise, this run would be very slow. So for these first few waves right here in this first Heartless fight, you Magnet Thunder to get rid of most of them, and then you use Magnet and then Reflect on these cars. See, the cars are immune to Magnet, and they also have a phase where they berserk and are invincible. So the best way to get rid of them and all the other Heartless in this fight is to go into Comet, use 3 Ethers to get all of your MP back, and then Magnet Thunder, as well as using the Comet RCs in order to do lots and lots of damage to enemies that are caught in the Magnet. This fight didn't really go quite that well. It's actually a miracle that it went as well as it did. I thought it was kind of doomed to failure, but it went well. It went pretty well, I would say. This next part right here is actually it's what you would quote unquote call a sequence break. It's a trick where you use aerial dodge, and then you go into Master Form specifically to aerial dodge again, and then revert, and do that over and over again with drive recoveries to basically infinitely aerial dodge into the air. And it's very useful in the cavern because there's a little chute in this room, which makes it easier to go down to the first room. But we can actually abuse that mechanic and go up instead of go down, which allows us to skip a couple of rooms. It doesn't save quite that much time on movement, but it does actually save time to be noticeable, so it's definitely worth going for, I would say. This fight right here has a lot of enemies that are immune to thunder, and immune to most forms of magic as well, so the best way to go about it, this was a great fight, is to use Final Form, and then use Magnet, and then force the Rune Masters to hit you with their books, reflect that, and then Magnet again. You do that loop over and over again until all of the Heartless are dead. That's a pretty good mechanic, or a pretty good idea. And this part right here, this is another part where we use the infinite aerial dodge to skip the engine room, and then we get over here and get past the Final Form gate. So now we're in the final hallway of the run, the Transport of Remembrance, with the 3 nobody fights. This first fight's kind of a throwaway fight. All you have to do is position yourself correctly and then Magnet Thunder to kill all of the enemies. This second nobody fight is probably my weakest fight, and it's pretty tricky. I cast that magnet right there to catch the snipers as they're spawning. What's really annoying about this fight is, along with the snipers that can one-shot you, is the berserkers. The berserkers aren't necessarily threatening, but they make it hard on you by having claymores, which really bounce around all of the other nobodies in the magnet, and they make it hard to kind of like position yourself correctly to kill all of them efficiently and safely. It went pretty well here. The idea is to use a Thunder finisher to get rid of their claymores and then finish them off with Magnet Thunder. Alright, this fight right here could be claimed by many to be the hardest fight in the entire game, especially on level 1. Mostly just because it's such a long fight. There are probably 7, maybe even more waves of nobodies in this fight, and they're all insanely deadly. These first few waves can just be dispatched with Magnet Thunder, but then we get to this nobody, the Sorcerer. Sorcerers are immune to all forms of magic except for Reflect, and even if they're caught in a magnet, they can hit you with their cubes. and one of their cube moves is probably the most dangerous move in the entire game. But what you can do is in final form, which at this point you want to be in final form, is you can force them to use their cube attacks and then reflect magnet them in order to do lots of damage to all the other nobodies, especially the sorcerers. Whenever the sorcerers spawn, it's your main priority to get rid of them as quickly as possible, and then you can kind of deal with the rest of the nobodies relatively quickly without having to worry too much. This part right here went pretty slow because I ran out of NP, and I didn't want to use too many ethers. I didn't really check my ether count that much, but I was able to make do. So yeah, here you force, you use the magnet to force out cube attacks and then reflect them. It's kind of difficult to control final form because some of the moves are really laggy, so you can get caught into you can get caught in attacks that can pretty much one-shot you just by being in a laggy final form attack. Right here, since I was low on final form, I would revert and then go into a comet immediately, and then Magnet Thunder, as well as use Comet on enemies in the Magnet to get a lot of kills before going back into final form again. I was able to kill most of the enemies, so this final wave, which has maybe 4 or 5 sorcerers, was only reduced to a couple of sorcerers left, so final form was able to get rid of them pretty handily. And that's pretty much the end of the speedrun. As soon as I hit the reaction command for the monitor and the Garden of Assemblage, it's the end of the speedrun. So yeah, thank you for watching my speedrun. I hope you all enjoyed. It's a relatively unknown category, but it has a lot of intense moments, as well as being very, very fast-paced. I hope people get more interested in this when 2.5 comes out. I'll see you guys later.